a statement to win in New England and beat Bill Belichick, and as difficult as their defense can be?
I think it definitely was a statement, but it was more of a statement for the people outside of our locker room. We were extremely confident going into the game. We really liked the way we matched up. Our players are doing a significantly better job this year compared to last year, just in the preparation phase each week. And you could see it during the week, each week. You can tell when there's some hesitancy if you're asking certain group to do certain ththings that they may not feel totally comfortable with, and that's normal in the NFL season game week. But Saturday night in a team meeting, once again, I talk a lot about energy and vibe, but our football team is very confident, and I think with that you have to be in tune with what's real confidence and what's fake confident, and they're doing it the right way. I think the ability to win close games, we needed that type of win, frankly, more than we needed to beat New England, in my opinion. I think overtime victories, last series victories are so important because I'm always looking to develop the team and grow towards December, January football, because that's when it really counts, and you're going to be in those types of games most likely. We were very confident going in there. It's just like you could say this every game, and I think it's the beauty of the game of football, especially in the NFL. You take a few plays early, that could be a different game, because we were extremely productive on all three phases. It was clearly our biggest challenge for special teams, that their special teams unit is as deep and as experienced of a unit that we'll face all year. And our special teams played big, and our defense played really strong, throughout the game, but had a tremendous challenge. They played exclusive in a personnel group that they hadn't shown maybe 2 plays all year. So there's a lot of good scheme and adjustments going on that we love as coaches, and the players really excelled at. And offensively, we're obviously very productive. And if we don't turn the ball over, it could be a little bit of a different game. But I think outside of the locker room, outside of our immediate group, I'm sure it was a statement for our fans, and that's great. You always want to please your fans, and I think you felt a little better about yourself, Brad. You looked like you were walking a little taller last night.
Absolutely. Although after you decided to go for the fourth down at your own 34, I don't know how tall I was for a minute.
That was a statement. It might not have been the right statement, but it was a statement.
I will admit that you furrow our brows from time to time, but now that we know that going for that was all a piece of making sure that you could win a close game at the end, now it all kind of fits together.
I'm just following Jerry's showmanship.
Yeah, see, he rubs off.
Just trying to fit in around here.
He rubs off. What does go into that kind of decision? It's an unconventional decision, certainly for the way a lot of people were brought up at your own 34 early in the game. What goes into your deciding that, no, we're going for this?
Well, that builds. I don't think I make that call in week 1 or 2. I think it's a matter of where we are as a team. How I felt, matching up front, and it was a clean play. You got Zeke carrying the football. He's a hammer when he goes up in there. So, yeah, we won't make a steady diet of it. So just we all understand. But it was early in the game, and Kellen and I talked. I think it was Saturday morning in our coordinators meeting. I want to be aggressive, go in there, and frankly, I was really trying to do the best we could as far as playing with the lead, because we just really felt if we got the lead on those guys that our defensive front could really pin their ears back and get after their offensive line. So that was part of the thinking.
And you got there eventually, so we could.
Yeah, no doubt. I was just trying to get there a little sooner.
Yeah,
probably too fast.
And now we understand. Mike McCarthy is our very special guest on the Cowboys Hour tonight. We are delighted to have all of you and you, Mike, with us. Go ahead, Shane.
When it comes time to shop for tailgate favorites, go to Albertsons and Tom Thumb. Get 10% off your groceries every Dallas Cowboys game day when you wear your Cowboys jersey. Albertsons and Tom Thumb, the official supermarket and pharmacy of the Dallas Cowboys.
And we'll be right back with Coach Mike McCarthy on the Cowboys Hour.
Let's go!
To the Miller Lite Cowboys Hour, supported by Albertsons and Omni Hotels and Resorts.
And welcome back. We are on the Cowboys Hour on what? Victory Monday.
Victory Monday, let's go!
Now we got Shannon Gross permanently fired up. I'm Brad Sham. Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy is our special guest this evening. We're delighted to have all of you with us. One of the what has quickly become a stellar feature of this program has been Shannon's deep dive into the Wikipedia page of our guest. And so I thought this would be a good time to go early into Shannon's Wikipedia dictionary.
This is my favorite part of the show, Coach, because Brad actually lets me talk during this segment. So I usually turn the rest of the show over to Brad. We actually have 2 pages on you today. So this is what we do.
How many do you normally have?
Normally it's like half a page, but there's plenty to go through here today. So we'll get to this right out of the gate. That way we have 2 segments after to discuss whatever comes out of this. So
Love it.
I read what's on Wikipedia because we all know that whatever is on the internet is true, correct?
Absolutely. That's the best.
So we'll go through this, and you fact check for us, Coach. You let me know if this is true or not true, and I'll go doctor this up afterwards and make any corrections we need to, all right? So this says, and if this is true, this is a very interesting fact, because if this is true, this is also my birthday. You were born Michael John McCarthy on November 10th.
1963.
There we go. We share a birthday.
Oh,
it's amazing. I
congratulations.
found that out today. Great day to be born. It says you're an American football coach who is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys of the National Football League. And from 2006 to 2018, you were the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. In 2011, you led them to a Super Bowl win over your hometown Pittsburgh Steelers.
Correct.
Correct so far? All right. You were previously the offensive coordinators for the San Francisco 49ers and New Orleans Saints.
Correct.
Correct. All right. And during your 14 seasons as head coach in the NFL, you have an overall regular season record of 131, 82, 87, and 2. You're among the only 4 head coaches, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, and Bill Belichick, to lead one franchise to 8 straight playoff appearances.
Correct.
All right, here we go. All right, here comes the fun stuff. You were born and raised in Pittsburgh in the blue-collar neighborhood of Greenfield. Your mother, Ellen McCarthy, was a secretary and worked in restaurants.
Yeah, is that how they wrote it?
That's how they wrote it.
Yeah, she worked in a lot of restaurants, and she also worked for the Justice of the Peace.
Okay, I'll get that corrected right after the show. Your father, Joe, was a firefighter for the Pittsburgh Fire Bureau and an officer for the Pittsburgh Police Department.
Correct.
All right.
Wait, both a firefighter and a police
Well,
officer.
he was a police officer for 8 years, and then he switched over to the fire department for, I think, close to 25, 30 years.
Wow.
And then
Lifetime public safety.
Yeah, no kidding.
it's awesome. It also says your dad owned a bar called Joe McCarthy's Bar and Grill where you spent Sundays cleaning up after church.
Before church.
Before church,
Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
Another correction we'll make. And then your dad raised you as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
That's the way it is back there, I know. So this guy over here is a Steelers fan still. Rich?
Yeah.
Was that Rich?
Yeah, Rich Dalrymple,
Rich.
another Pittsburgher. That's right.
It says after serving as a graduate assistant at Fort Hays State from 1987 to 88, you returned home to Pittsburgh, and you called Mike Gottfried, the head coach of University of Pittsburgh, and asked for a coaching job, but no positions were available.
Correct.
Pretty true. Okay. And it says
You just don't pick up the phone and call the head coach of the University of Pittsburgh, but that's close enough.
That's close. All right. It says you were told to mail your resume. That was back in the days when we had to actually mail resumes.
Excuse me. Did you not show up in his office
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I finally got my foot in the door, yes.
without an appointment?
Without an appointment. I had probably, about 4 or 5 different resumes. 4 or 5 of my, people take resumes there. I was trying to get on as a graduate assistant. They didn't have any graduate assistantships available, so I walked in, and I knew one of the coaches on the staff. We were from the same neighborhood, and the secretary stopped me, and luckily they were breaking a meeting, and Sal Sinceri is the gentleman's name. So, Sal stopped, we talked, and then they had a gentleman by the name of Alex Kramer, who's kind of, he was like the historian, really neat fella that had been at Pitt for, 50, 60 years. So he called me in and says, we had no positions available. We got all your resumes. Thanks for coming by. And but if anything happens, we'll give you a call. 2 days later, he called me and offered me a position to be a volunteer coach. So I volunteered for my first year.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Shane.
No problem. They got it wrong here. They said the next day you showed up and introduced yourself, and a few days later you got an assistant resigned. So I'll go correct that as well. And then the other interesting thing was you served as a
Who writes this?
I don't know. I think it's open to the public. So I think Wikipedia is, yeah. It says you served as a graduate assistant for 3 seasons before coaching wide receivers during the 92 season. And then the other interesting thing, there's 2 more interesting things on here. One, it says you worked as a toll collector during the off season.
Definitely. I just got my master's degree, and I feel like I have to tell this story because it was a summer job, number one. I think I worked there 6 weeks. But, you just get your master's degree, you come home, and you don't have any money. You're still, you live at home with your parents. So I asked my father to give me a job, help me get a job. And that's the only thing that he was able to pull off in short notice. So I worked at the graveyard shift from 10 at night till 6 in the morning at the Turnpike over the summertime before training camp started at Pitt. So just to get a few bucks in my pocket.
Now, how much activity would you have come through?
Oh, how long's the show? I'll tell you what. I mean, working the Turnpike, it was exit 5 back then. When the bars and the nightclubs let out at 2 o'clock, and young ladies that didn't have toll to pay, it was amazing what you'd see at the toll booth at 2 a.m. in the morning. It was pretty funny.
Okay.
And then the last fun fact here, it says while in Pittsburgh, you were a 2-time state polka dancing champion. I made that one up. There's always one that.
If you'd have said an Irish dance or something, I would have went with it.
The river dance, yeah. I have to make one up just to make
dance,
sure everyone's fact checking correctly. So thank you for playing.
Okay, that's
playing
good.
along with that. That was
Mike,
good stuff.
Mike McCarthy on Wikipedia. That's good. When yes, please do in all your free time.
No doubt.
When in there did you kind of realize that you wanted to be a head coach and that you wanted to coach in the National Football League?
Head coach, when I had the opportunity to work in Kansas City for Marty Schottenheimer. I mean, frankly, he told me early in my tenure there that he told me I had the makings of a head coach.
And what did he say specifically what that meant?
No, I think he particularly I got into the league as a computer guy, if you can believe that. So when I was at the University of Pittsburgh, the Paul Hackett, who actually just came from the Dallas Cowboys, when Jerry bought the team, and Paul was the offensive coordinator the first year for McCarthy in 1989, and then Paul became the head coach in 1990. So Paul promoted me from volunteer coach, making no money, to graduate assistant. That was, it was a big increase. So I was a GA there for 2 years, and then we were actually GA for 2 years, but we had a young coach from San Francisco 49ers come by the name of John Gruden. And, unfortunately, the timing of this story. But, but John was, beyond his years, and he was the first coach to draw playbooks on a computer. He did it out in San Francisco and took all of Coach Bill Walsh's original drawings and put it on a computer. So he brought that system to University of Pittsburgh, 1991. So then John went to Green Bay Packers with Mike Holmgren in 92. I replaced John as the receiver coach at Pitt, learned how to use the computer, and literally did not even know how to turn it on. I mean, he showed me how to turn it on as he was packing his boxes to go to Green Bay. So then I learned this computer system, Super Paint 1.0, and on the old little Macintosh.
Yep.
And then Paul Hackett became the offensive coordinator for Marty Schottenheimer in Kansas City, and he brought me along as a quality control coach, and I brought my Macintosh. So that was a big deal back then, 1993, because the computers, the old graphic design aspect of it was just getting started in the NFL.
And so Marty clearly was an influence.
I think he liked the computer, I guess. I don't know.
But he was he was an influence on you.
Oh, Marty Schottenheimer was a huge influence on me. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things I do today. As far as scheduling, how we practice, how we conduct meetings, to definitely learn from Marty Schottenheimer. He by far, and I was very fortunate to work for a lot of not only good head coaches, but a lot of excellent assistant coaches, Hall of Fame type coaches. But Marty, to me, had the best program, structure, developed culture, and that's where a lot of the things I believe in today I learned from him.
And from Kansas City, you were in Kansas City, and then,
6 years, 93 to 98.
and then you went to
Green Bay, 99 as a quarterback coach. Then I went to New Orleans in 2000 to 2004, 5 years as the offensive coordinator. Then I went to San Francisco 1 year, 05 as a coordinator, then was the head coach in 06.
And so, Ted, it's about break time, is it not? And when we come back, I would love to hear you talk a little bit about how the job has changed over the years, because I don't think that the job that you have to do now bears very much resemblance, except in relation to a football field, from the one that Marty Schottenheimer was doing.
Very much so.
And so we'll talk about that when we come back.
Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys.
And also, we're brought to you by Lucchese Boots, the official bootmaker of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, and we'll be right back on the Cowboys Hour.
Back to the Miller Lite Cowboys Hour, supported by Albertsons and Omni Hotels and Resorts.
Welcome back to the Cowboys Hour on Victory Monday. Brad Sham and Shannon Gross and our very special guest, Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. And we were talking a little bit about your coaching influences. You mentioned Marty Schottenheimer and some of the other great coaches that you've worked for and with. And the job that you have to do today is, it seems to me, almost as much about spending time with the media and dealing with those daily pressures and things, and being aware of social media and what your players are being exposed to, as much as it does about a football game. So when did you start to see the whole industry change, do you think?
I think when you're an assistant, I know during my time as an assistant coordinator, you're really blind to it, because I really didn't spend any time with the media until I became a head coach. That's just the way it was. The places that I'd worked. So then when you become a head coach, you have emails and things from the league office you have to go through, and I'll just say.
Fortunately, you were already a computer geek, so you.
I was a different part of my life, but yeah. So I just think just everything that goes on in our business, it goes across the head coach's desk, and I think that the reality of it is that anything that touches the players, anything that touches the football team, you have to be in tune with. You got to be on top of. So I think all of us as coaches, particularly as you climb the ladder, everything you've done to become a head coach. Then when you get the head coaching job, they're asking you to do everything that you didn't do before to get the job, because you're either a good offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator or a special teams coach. So it's just the administrative responsibilities are significantly different today than they were in 06 when I first became a head coach. But I think that player safety is so much has increased so much. The nutrition, the strength and conditioning, the outsourcing of what's been available to our players that now it's in-house. So I think everything around the game of football, particularly the training and the enhancement, particularly with our trainers, and there's just so much more to look at and talk, because I think if anything we've gone from not enough to now maybe too much, as far as what, because everybody wants to be involved in a good way, but in this, especially living in Dallas, your outsourcing capabilities here are tremendous. A lot more in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So you can imagine, so when you have those type of things, at the end of the day, you want to make sure your players are getting the best care possible, and making sure they can be the best they can be personally and professionally.
There's so many things, you just alluded to it, and you did too, Brad, that go into coaching now, from building the team and then, talking to these young men and influencing them, and then game day and analytics and all these things. What's the one, what aspect do you enjoy the most when it comes to coaching?
Oh, I obviously game day is the highlight, I think, for all of us, the competition of, competing against the other 32 teams. So, that's clearly at the top. But I've always enjoyed the game plan process, and that's something that, it just have been a big part of growing as a coach, all the way back in 1987. So, and that's what you lose, particularly as a head coach. So you're always operating more in a big picture, mindset and so forth. So, but I'd say clearly game day and game planning. Then, I'd probably say practice, because to me, it's the best part of the day. It's the most important part of the day. It's the most important thing that we do as a football team.
Another huge change in the industry is the size of the coaching staff.
Yes.
When the Giants play, they put out their press release, and I love the picture that they put in of their coaching staff when Tom Landry and Vince Lombardi were the assistant coaches, and I think it was Jim Lee Howell was the head coach,
Yeah.
and they had like 8 coaches. That was it. And now teams have 25. I think you've got like 23 or something like that, and it's just changed so much. And as a result of that, and I've had the great honor and pleasure of working with every man who has sat in your office for this franchise, and their approaches have been different. Some have been, well, Landry's had to be different because he had a much smaller staff, and it was a completely different era. I think one of Jimmy Johnson's geniuses was coaching the coaches and being more of a CEO. Some of them have been more hands-on with players than others. So How do you think you developed how would you describe your style, and how do you think you developed it?
I think, I look at it from a micro approach, and I think it's like anything, it has to evolve, because opportunities are different. The dynamics of your team are different, and no different that, your coaching staff will adjust as you move on. So my experience has always been coaching young teams. We were always a draft and develop team in Green Bay, and we're kind of following that path now. We're the third youngest team in the National Football League right now. So with that, there's a lot of time and energy goes into the teaching components. What's the classroom environment, the enhancement of the teaching tools, both audio and video. And so we spend a lot of time, particularly in the computer aspects and in the analytical, of being more efficient with our time. You have less time with your players today than you did 10 years ago. You have less time today with your players than you did 2 years ago between CBA and the CBA in 2011. So, the way the game's going is you're getting less time with your players, so, the efficiency of your teaching environment has to be so much better. The virtual experience last year, which, we didn't do the best job of, frankly. So, that was a great experience for us to go through. We were a new staff, and we were significantly better in that realm this spring. So all those things help develop the way you do a job. I know as a beginning head coach, I would say I operated a lot more in the micro phase. I think you need both. I don't think you just can be a micro or macro manager. I think you have to have both approaches, as far as exactly what you're working on. So I'd say I'm micro on things, particularly in the training of the team, but I'm macro on the scheme and the implementation of scheme, the evaluation of scheme. But the meetings are ran exactly the way, I see them to be ran. It's, the structure is really a structure that frankly goes back to Marty Schottenheimer. So a lot of those things. So I think my experience is you develop that as you go through as a head coach.
And is it fluid? Do you see ways that you can still change and adjust it?
Absolutely. I'm a huge believer in self-evaluation, and I can't preach it and bang everybody's head against the wall and self-scout if you're not doing it yourself. I still believe in the yellow tablet. I keep that yellow tablet right on the corner of the desk, and as things go on during the season, you write them down, and in the first 10 to 14 days when the season's over, we have exit interviews with everybody, all the coaches, all the players, and there's a lot of stuff that gets thrown at you, and some of the stuff may make you laugh, and some of it make you cry, but you look at it, you evaluate it, and I think it's important when the team does come back in the off season, you say, hey, here's the 12 things that I've taken out of the exit interviews, and this is why we're going to do them, and this is where they came from. So I think it's all part of the buy-in of it, but I think you develop your micro and macro approaches, throughout your career. And I'm totally different today than I was, 4 years ago, in Green Bay, just the way that, the design of this organization. And I think at the end of the day, you got to hire good people, and you got to create the culture and the structure, the discipline and the expectations for everybody to excel and do their job.
Talking about self-evaluation and, your tablet, where do you think you've grown the most from when you started coaching to now? Where do you think the biggest growth has happened for you as a head coach? I
would say patience. I think like all of us, when you're young, you think you got all the answers, and you can rehearse the Bible of what you believe in as a coach. You wear it on your sleeve. Where with patience, you learn to. I listen a lot better than I did 10 years ago. I listen significantly better than I did 20 years ago. So I think it's important to let others speak around you, because the position you hold carries presence and weight, and that can inhibit growth. So, and that's totally in contrast to what I'm trying to get done. I'm not just trying to grow a football team, the players. I'm trying to grow the coaches too. I'm trying to grow the support staff. I'm trying to grow the football operations, because it takes everybody to get this thing done. It's hard to win a championship. It's hard to win a game in this league, but it's very difficult to win a championship. So when you talk about growth, you got to define it. And you got to make it clear what the why is and how you're going to do it, how you're going to regulate it, how you're going to reinforce it, and that's when people buy in and we all get better together.
We got to take our if some of the folks who have come out to see our program this evening have some questions for Coach McCarthy when we return to the Ford Center at the Star.
Yes, and Coach, that is the Omni Hotel of Frisco right there. And you can kick off your stay at the official hotel of the Dallas Cowboys with style if you ever choose to get away for a weekend or something. Cool off in the elevated pool, savor upscale comfort food at neighborhood services, and enjoy all the dining and entertainment options the Star has to offer. Visit omnihotels.com/Frisco to learn more and turn the next home game into a weekend getaway.
We'll be back with Coach Mike McCarthy on the Cowboys Hour.
To the Miller Lite Cowboys Hour, supported by Albertsons and Omni Hotels and Resorts.
And welcome back to the Cowboys Hour. Brad Sham and Shannon Gross, our special guest, Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. Brought to you in part by Jack Black Skincare. If you want to use what the pros use, Jack Black is the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. What other sports do you like? What sports do you like to watch?
I mean, I think I'm like all parents of 5 kids. You like the ones your kids are playing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, I've always enjoyed, basketball frankly was my first love. But, I enjoy hockey. I'm actually going to try to go to a hockey game this week if I can, but nothing like seeing hockey live. So I haven't been to a Stars game yet.
No, you're probably too young to have watched the Pittsburgh team in the ABA play.
The Condors?
Yeah, I think it was
Rich,
the Condors. The Pipers is what I was thinking of, the Pipers, and then the Condors.
Yeah.
That was a little before your time, wasn't it?
Connie Hawkins, right?
He started. They had a guy named John Brisker who was supposed to be. He was one of the roughest play. He was playing the wrong sport when he was playing basketball. Let's just put it that way. All right. Before we turn it over to our audience here, we were talking about. And I said I had a follow-up question to what you were talking about, and you used a word earlier that several of your players have used in kind of describing the building, what you are building, and that's culture. And that's a word that we hear from time to time around professional sports, and it's a little vague. It can be. What do you mean when you talk about the culture that you are trying to build and instill?
I mean, the culture and the climate is really the connection between the individuals in the workplace, and it goes beyond the workplace. And it's just it's the selling, the buy-in of a process. You know, everybody does things differently. I mean, we all play the game of football, but you know how you teach, you know how you motivate, you know how you reinforce. You know, there's everybody has a method, and you know to get the total buy-in, you know it takes the right people, and you know the right approach, the consistency in it, and with that you develop workplace culture. And you know we have this phenomenal facility. I mean we have so many resources here, and you know to take that energy. And I just believe in the development of the whole enhances your opportunity to be successful at a such higher rate.
And that would be from the player all the way up to the whole organization.
Everybody
right?
involved, any individual that touches that locker room is part of that cultural demand and focus, because you know it's amazing what goes into one football game. That's the thing that I know. Go back when I first got into coaching. And I got in my father, you know, and I was telling Rich a story a little while back, and I was getting my master's degree. I'd start off in the MBA program because my undergrad was business administration. And after the first semester, I had this opportunity to go into coaching because I coached the first semester, but I was being paid by the business department at Fort Hays. And then after the season was over, the guy says, "You're spending 80 hours a week in the coaching department. You're not doing, when we're paying you, you're not doing anything over here. So you got to make a decision. You want to be a coach, you got to, you know, go into work for the health physical education department, and sports administration was the focus, or you got to come work for us and you got to give up the coaching." So, you know, I told my dad, I said, "Hey, I says, I'm going to go into coaching, give up the MBA." And he goes, "You know, just when I thought you figured this thing out, you were screwed up all over." So, you know, and so I mean.
And now that you're a father, do you understand his point of view a little bit?
We laugh about it.
Yeah.
No doubt, yes. So, I wasn't the best undergrad student, so he had a lot of reasons to concern.
I understand. Okay, let's get some questions from some Cowboy fans here. Go ahead, sir.
Congratulations yesterday on a great win, Coach.
Thank you.
My name is Rambo.
I love it.
So I have a question. So you guys have won 5 straight games. How do you keep your team motivated and not getting into a comfort zone? Great
question. It was a part of our meeting. We had a team meeting today before we broke for the bye week, and you know we have 6 building blocks, and one of the probably the most important one of them is handling success. I mean, it's a constant focus. It's a constant message of you know of our football operations, and you know and the way I like to look at it is every level, every win. You know, every level of success comes new devils. So it's something that we need to stay on top of. We talked about all the love that we're getting, you know, outside of it, but the importance of staying the same in the locker room, and, you know, the preparation we can't cut corners and all that. So it's a primary focus of, you know, as me as the head coach and of our coaching staff.
How do you learn and then teach how to handle both the good things, especially once you become a head coach? I think you alluded to it before. When you're an assistant coach in the NFL, you can isolate yourself from whatever you don't want to be. Not so much when you're the head coach. So when people are saying good things about you, I think you said a couple of weeks ago everybody's got a toothache from all the sugar that was being dispensed. And sometimes it amazes me, by the way, how you guys ever make a mistake with all of the unemployed coaches on Twitter and in the public. Everybody's got the answers. I don't know how you ever make a mistake with all that help that you got out there. But you also have to not let that get to you somehow. So how do you learn to do all that?
Yeah, I think it's part of who you are, and and you to develop it in this business, and it's not getting better. That's a nice way of saying it. That's part of the deal. It's part of the job. I mean, I think critique is part of your responsibility of being a coach in this league, and you just have to, and that's the way it is. I mean, it's always harder on the family, than the individuals. Been my experience. Now I've been with some coaches that. I mean, I work with a guy in New Orleans, and it was kind of when the internet was just starting. They had, I think I called them like fan chats or something of that sort. Yeah. And I walked by his office, and he goes, "You see what the hell they're saying about us on fan chat?" I was like, "My God, why would you read that?" So I just think it's it's part of the deal. And I've done it long enough. I believe in how we're doing it here.
Now, so you're not on Twitter?
No.
TikTok, TikTok, Coach?
No.
Okay.
Not on Instagram? Your kids must be.
Yes, my kids are. My oldest is on Instagram. We're trying to keep the young ones off of TikTok.
Yeah, I'll bet. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Great win, Coach. My name is Corey. Dak talked about how y'all haven't played a complete game yet. So I was wondering, going into the bye week, what do you think the things y'all may need to work on? Because I feel like that's pretty impressive, the way y'all been playing so far, these 6 games that, y'all haven't played a complete game. He feels like you haven't played a complete game yet.
Yeah, I just think it shows you, where Dak's coming from. He's chasing perfection. We've played very high productive football, I mean, as a whole. I think the nature of our business – and, the evaluation is so intense that, you sit there and have 89 plays on offense and you talk about the 3 that didn't work. So, but the other 86 were pretty damn good. So I think it's part of the world we live in. But, yeah, I mean, I think it just shows you the focus of our guys really want to be a complete team because we clearly weren't last year. We didn't play well. The offense didn't play to the defense and vice versa. So I think you're seeing the focus of that now. And I think yesterday's game was a great picture of what we're trying to do. All 3 phases contributed to the win, and all 3 phases stepped up and made big plays, particularly when they need to be made.
Coach, take the fans into the locker room. Game like halftime.
Okay.
Are you a rah-rah guy at halftime? Do you just kind of let the guys do whatever, especially a game yesterday that a lot of things aren't going in your favor? What's the scene like in the locker room?
I'm structure. I'm very systematic. I do a lot of things the same way for a reason because I think when you do things the same way, you build experiences and instincts that you can draw from your past experiences. So we've always come in. The offense goes to one side, defense goes to another. We have video boards or audio video set up for the coaches. The coaches will then come in, meet by themselves, and then they'll make the adjustments. They'll go into their side. So Dan and Kellen, Joe Philbin will start with the line, and then Kellen. So they'll make their offensive adjustments and defensive adjustments. Special teams, he's doing that throughout the day, and then when there's 2 minutes left to go, then I'll call everybody up. And I have a menu of things that I watch during the course of the game, whether it's the pace, the tempo, the ebb and flow, the operation of. Like yesterday, we had a really uneven. The clock was going real fast in New England, if you can imagine that. The clock was being set quickly, but the umpire setup was slow. So it was a really herky-jerky type things, and the penalties, the things that are going on, and so I'm always trying to address the direction and the focal point for when we come out. So that's what I finish them up, and then I'll say a few nice things, and then we break it up.
And how do you know, we've got less than a minute, how do you know what you want to hit them with Saturday night?
It builds, at this point in my career, it builds during the week. I used to read the books and write the speeches and have them all done over the summer and pull them out of the file, but I've done it long enough now. There's a topic that's going to come off of the self-scout of the past game, and I build it during the week. And frankly, I wrote my Saturday night team meeting on the plane ride to New England this past week. So it's just, I think the final talk has to reflect the week, the path going into the game.
Well, the great news is that you have been with these guys very long. They haven't heard all your stories yet.
I could probably go back and use the old cane once.
You absolutely could. Mike, thank you. We appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you all for being with us. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining us on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Thanks for watching on DallasCowboys.com. No game this weekend, but we will be back here, Shannon and I, with a special surprise guest next Monday night, same time on the Cowboys Hour.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!